You know that old trick for making a strong password? Swapping an E for a 3, adding an exclamation point at the end? Well, I've got some news for you. That entire way of thinking is officially outdated. The rulebook has been totally rewritten. So let's dive into what real password security looks like today.
So just take a second and think about the passwords you use every single day. Are they based on advice you learned like 10 or 15 years ago? Because if they are, you might be leaving your digital front door wide open and you probably don't even know it.
And look, this really, really matters. Security experts will tell you that basic password cracking is still one of the top ways attackers get into our accounts. It's not always some super sophisticated Mission Impossible style hack. A lot of the time, they're just walking right in using stolen credentials. And that can lead to some truly awful stuff like identity theft and serious financial fraud. Now, don't just take my word for it. The real authority here is the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST. These are the folks who set the security standards for everyone, from U.S. federal agencies to the biggest tech companies in the world. And their latest guidelines, specifically from a document called Special Publication 800-63B, have basically turned all that old password advice completely on its head. All right, so let's start by busting the biggest myth of all, the one we've all had drilled into our heads for years, that a password strength comes from jamming in as many symbols, numbers, and capital letters as you possibly can. And this is the perfect example of the problem. Our brains look at a password like this and think, oh wow, that's complex, that's gotta be secure. But here's the thing, to a modern computer, those little substitutions, the @ for an A, the 0 for an O, they're completely predictable. A hacker's software knows every single one of these tricks and can guess this password in literally a fraction of a second. So, here's the crucial shift in thinking. The old myth was all about cramming complex characters into a short password. But the new reality, and this is backed by all of NIST's research, is that simple, memorable length is what really matters. It's just math. A longer password creates an exponentially bigger haystack for a computer to search through, making it way, way harder to crack. So, what's the magic number we should be aiming for? Well, NIST says the absolute bare minimum is 8 characters. But honestly, in today's world, that's just not cutting it. The new best practice, the real number you want to shoot for, is at least 12 characters. And you know what? Longer is always better. A 16-character password is a whole lot stronger than a 12-character one. All right, let's tackle the second huge myth, and this one's going to be a relief for a lot of you. You know that super annoying corporate policy, the one that forces you to change your password every 60 or 90 days? Well, it turns out it actually does more harm than good. And what's so fascinating is that NIST didn't just guess this. They actually studied human behavior. They found that when you force people to change passwords all the time, we don't invent brilliant, new, secure ones. Nope. We take shortcuts. We make tiny, predictable little changes to the password we already have. And this is exactly what that looks like. You start with a password for the first quarter. Then the system bugs you to change it, so you just swap the 1 for a 2. Next quarter, you swap it for a 3. You think you're following the rules, but what you've really done is create an incredibly simple, predictable pattern that's a piece of cake for an attacker to figure out. So the new recommendation from NIST is refreshingly simple. Stop changing your passwords on a schedule. The only time you really need to change them is if you have a specific reason to believe they've been compromised, like a data breach. Or, maybe once a year for good measure. The focus now is on creating one really strong password and then keeping it for a good long while. Okay, so if the old rules about complexity and frequent changes are out, what's in? Let's get into the modern strategies that actually work, according to the new NIST playbook. Hashing. The best way to think of it is like a one-way paper shredder. When you create an account, the company doesn't store your actual password. Instead, they store this unique, scrambled code, the hash. This is so important because it means that even if hackers break in and steal the database, all they get is a list of useless, scrambled codes, not your password. Now, to make that even more secure, good systems use another trick called salting. It's pretty simple. Before your password goes into that digital shredder, the system adds a unique random ingredient to it, the salt. This means that even if 2 people use the exact same terrible password, like password123, their stored scrambled codes will look completely different from each other. It's just another layer that makes a hacker's job a total nightmare. So, hashing and salting are what companies do on their end, but that's only half the equation. The other half is what you can control. And right here is one of the single most important things you can do for your security. It's something NIST recommends everywhere.
Multi-Factor Authentication, or MFA.
MFA is all about layers. Your password is the first layer. It's something you know. But MFA adds a second, sometimes even a third layer. This could be something you have, like a code from an app on your phone, or something you are, like your fingerprint. The point is, even if a hacker manages to steal your password, they're stopped dead because they don't have that second factor. They can't get in.
Okay, so you're probably thinking, how on earth am I supposed to create and remember dozens of unique 16-character passwords? And the simple answer is, you don't. It's basically impossible for a human brain. And that's exactly why NIST now officially recommends using a password manager. These tools are lifesavers. They generate, encrypt, and store incredibly strong passwords for you, so you only have to remember one single, very strong master password.
We have covered a lot of ground here. We've debunked the old myths, and we've walked through the new security playbook. So now, let's just boil it all down into a simple, clear action plan you can start using today.
Here it is, your new security checklist. Number 1, aim for length, not complexity. And let a password manager do all the hard work of creating and remembering those long, unique passwords. Number 2, enable multi-factor authentication on every important account you have. I'm serious, your email, your bank, your social media. Turn it on. And number 3, make sure you screen passwords against lists of known breached credentials. It's a quick check that can save you a lot of trouble. So I'll leave you with this to think about. After everything we've talked about, take an honest look at your own security habits. Are you really protecting your digital life with the modern equivalent of a steel deadbolt? Or are you still just relying on a flimsy little latch that almost anyone could kick open? The choice, and now the power to fix it, is entirely yours.